Hello and welcome to this week's Elite Entrepreneur Show. Really excited to bring you this week's show. As you can see, we are in a different location again. Last week, the show came to you from Wilmington in North Carolina, but this week I have I've moved yet again, and this show comes to you from Philadelphia, from the greater region of Philadelphia. But before we get into that, and why I am in Philadelphia, just wanted to go over what this show is about. Powering through the tough times of when you're beginning to build out your business. That's what this show is about, and I'm really excited to bring today's guest on. Really excited to interview him because he has gone through these tough times. He's got a very, very amazing story and has come out the other side. So if you have never seen this show before, we go live every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time, and 8 p.m. UK time, or British Summer Time at the moment. Every week, the exact same time at eliteentrepreneurshow.com. So I'm just going to bring up the link for you. Where is it here? There we go. Okay, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is every single week you want to head to that link, eliteentrepreneurshow.com. And the reason why you want to head to that link is so you can interact live with myself and, of course, the elite entrepreneurs that we are bringing on the show each and every week. So this show isn't about me. This show is about you and getting results for your business. The only way you're going to get results is if you come and interact live and ask your most burning questions with the guests on this show, on the Elite Entrepreneur Show. So if you're not there, if you're watching this live and you're not at eliteentrepreneurshow.com, head there right now, and that will enable you. You'll still be able to watch it live. Nothing will change. That'll enable you to comment in the box, as you'll see just below there. If you're watching a recording of this, remember to come to the show live so you can interact. That's the best part about these Google Hangouts. You can interact live and ask your most burning questions. Now, I'll just change the banner back there. The show, Elite Entrepreneur Show, you'll see the tagline at the top there. It's about changing lives, living anywhere, and becoming the new rich. Changing lives, you know, as coaches, that's what we love to do. We love to help people and change lives. Well, picture yourself not only being able to change lives, but doing it where you could run your business from your favorite location or anywhere in the world, say an exotic location such as Costa Rica, or maybe just your favorite coffee shop. That's what we mean by changing lives, living anywhere, whether you've got a family or a house. That doesn't matter. You want to be able to grow a business that gives you that freedom, and that's what become the new rich essentially means in this context of having a business that works for you and not against you. That gives you the choice to travel whenever you want to travel, and you don't work in the business. I know how that is, especially in the beginning of the business, working from morning to night, and that's what today's show is all about, powering through those tough times. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I'm no longer in Wilmington. I'm actually in Philadelphia. At the moment, I'm in Exton, which is kind of just just outside of the city region of Philadelphia. And as we do each and every week, we have I'll show you a little bit about what I've been doing on Instagram. So I'm just going to share my screen here for 2 seconds. Hopefully that will. Google has a way of being a bit temperamental. Okay, so here we go. So you would have seen my pictures last week from Wilmington, and this is the Ben Franklin Bridge, I believe. I've only been here for a week now, but I believe that's the Ben Franklin Bridge. There's about 3 or 4 of them around here, but that's, of course, in the city of Philadelphia. This here is the oldest street in Philadelphia. How cool is that? And as you know, with Philadelphia, I mean, it's the oldest. The guy coming on the show might be able to correct me on this, but it is the oldest city in the US. And so that's the oldest street in Philadelphia, so that's pretty amazing, some history there. And of course, yesterday I was able to reach the pinnacle of United States capitalism. I was in heaven. Walmart. I've just died and gone to heaven. And of course, each and every week I keep you updated on my team, the Roosters, just something that that I'm interested in football back home from Australia. So again, the Roosters won. We're on a winning streak, 34-14 against the Dragons. Kicked their butt, and next week we have West Tigers, and they've lost their last game, and I can tell they're on a downward trend. So we're gonna totally whoop their butt again. So go the Roosters. Now let me just bring you back to the screen again. So that's a little bit about me and what I've been doing the past week, and living this lifestyle where my business works for me. And if you do want to keep up with me on Instagram, it's at lukercharlton.com. And that's the link right there. So that's my Instagram if you want to follow me. With all that being said, let's get into today's show. As I said, I'm really excited to bring on today's guest because he has a really amazing story for you. And this show, as I mentioned, is all about powering through the tough times of business. Now, he's built his own multi-million-dollar company, which actually he has built his own million-dollar company. I won't let you know. I'll let him tell you the story. But since then, he's become a business coach of sorts for leaders in small business, such as yourself, and helping them power through the tough times. Not only that, he has a podcast that's quite popular on iTunes. He's been interviewed by people like Entrepreneurs on Fire. And he has a wealth of knowledge on helping you get through those tough times in business, especially in the early stages. So I'm hugely excited to bring on our guest today, Gene Hammett. Gene, how are you going, mate?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. It's very good to have you on the show. Very good to have you on the show.
Great. I was glad to be here. You asked me a few days ago to share a story about resilience, and I'm glad to do that.
I can't wait. Well, do you want to... Before I really want to talk, you did a really amazing interview yesterday. I want to bring up the reason why I think it's pertinent to today's show. But before we get into that, do you want to let the people watching, let them know a little bit about you and your background with the company that you basically built and what happened with that company?
Sure. You never know how far back to go, but I give you what's pertinent. Okay. I've always been an entrepreneur. It's been in my heart, in my soul, in my thinking. And when I graduated from engineering school, I had no thoughts of being an engineer, but I knew that it prepared me to get into my business. But I felt like there were some things missing, so I became a consultant. So I traveled the world. I did mergers and acquisitions. I did technology consulting. I did traditional kind of management consulting, strategy work. And I worked with an e-commerce company, and as soon as 9/11 came through, I had a chance, an opportunity to just take an idea I had and launch with it. And that's what I did. I created my own e-commerce company. I happened to sell tickets and tours to big sporting events. And a lot of people don't know what that is, but if you're in England, it's you call them touts.
I've never heard that before.
You never heard that?
No.
I was in Australia, Luke, for the Olympics down there.
Did you say Australia?
I've been, yeah. I was an international
I like the way you say
sensation. So I basically, one of the things that really was important about my business that I want to share with you is it didn't start out easy. I mean, it actually started out pretty hard. I hired some people right away. I didn't really know what I was doing as far as leading people. I had done it before, but not my own business, not my own money. I had someone else backing me. And so what I realized quickly was they were making all the money, and I just got all the problems. And I didn't make that much. And what I ended up doing was hiring a coach because I just didn't see my own way out. Yep. And that coach helped me take my business from like here and start narrowing it down to the point where I only concentrated on the most profitable elements of my business. And it took me a few years to go through that process, but it was the most valuable kind of, I guess, kick in the pants I ever gotten because I focused on where I made the money, who I wanted to serve, what I wanted to do, and I ended up being, an international, I joke, international sensation on tickets. But I was at World Cup Soccers all across the world.
Wow.
I went to many Olympics. I went to many, U.S.-based international events. The Masters golf tournament to be one of the one. It's right in my backyard. But I would take thousands of people to each of these events, and I do mean thousands. And I would give you the highlight in Beijing. I was at the Olympics 2008.
Yep.
I had over 10,000 people that I was caring for and taking care of. I made over $1 million inside of 7 weeks.
Wow.
For me and my partners, and it was the hardest I've ever worked in my life. But it doesn't come easy.
Yeah.
So that was the peak. And the peak, I'll tell you, I made a lot of money, but I really wasn't happy. I didn't feel like I was serving the purpose that I was sent here to do, but I didn't know what that purpose was. I was making money. Everyone looked at me as I was, kind of living the life, traveling the world, living kind of a lifestyle too. I will tell you, I was probably a little bit greedy. I was a little bit selfish, and I didn't see it for myself. I didn't clue into that until everything changed one day, Luke. And all of that was taken away. My business, my identity, my trust, my confidence. I had a contract with a friend, and that contract just did not get fulfilled. I think my lawyers say he failed to fulfill his contractual obligations, if you will.
Yeah.
And I lost everything.
Wow.
$3 million in one day. I used to know the exact figure, but it escapes me right now. It's like 2,951,000 and change. Everything fell in around me. And the next step was, I think, the most important, which was where I went to in my head, which was, I'm not going to hide behind this. I'm not going to try to pretend it didn't happen, pretend I didn't make a foolish choice and trust the wrong person, but I'm going to make a difference with the next business I start. It was no question whether I would be in business again, because it's in my DNA, and that's what happened.
And that's absolutely that's an incredible story.
You didn't even know that, did you?
No. I knew that from a previous conversation that the company dissolved. I remember, and you just mentioned it a few in the green screen before the start of the show. But yeah, that is a real amazing story. To lose that amount of money, and I think the money probably wasn't the most crushing thing. I'm guessing it's probably, you mentioned, you lost your trust, you lost your identity, and which of course is attached to losing that and losing your company. How did you? This show is about powering through the tough times. How did you get through that, and what did you learn by coming through that experience?
I really had to get in touch with who I am, what I was sent to do here, my purpose. And a lot of people take that lightly, or maybe they get hung up on it and they say, well, this is not my purpose, I don't know what to do. But I really thought about it long and hard, like, where can I make a difference? Who do I care about? Who do I really want to serve? And I called up a coach, that one coach I talked about in the very beginning of this. I called her up and I said, look, this was 7 years later or 8 years later. I said, you've created a very successful business. Do you think I'm capable of doing this after just going through this huge loss, or is everyone going to be scared of me because I just did lose all this money? And I remember distinctly, she said, I remember where I was sitting, I remember exactly what I was doing, and she said, you know what, if you've got it in you to share this story and you're willing to do that, then you can have whatever you want. And she did say, coaching's really hard. She goes, it's not for the faint. It is going to be a challenge, no matter what, and not many people actually break that six-figure mark. And so it really will take everything you've got, and it has. So I did have to go through all that to get to where I am, and there's a lot more to the story after that. But I don't want to just keep running on.
No, that's fine. One of the things that I teach coaches to do, and you might do the same. I think you work in a little bit of a different area than me, helping leaders specifically. One of the things I teach coaches is when they're building out their business, especially if they're new, is to learn how to leverage their story. And what you have there is a very powerful story, and I know that of a lot of coaches in the industry that have, had bankruptcies and that type of thing, and they use that to actually, because they've got, since similar position to you, they've lost like kind of a big company and then gone into coaching and leveraged that to help give them credibility, because they've been through like a tough challenge. So why I say that is, you mentioned that you didn't want to hide from it, and I think that's very good.
I want to add to that, because I totally agree with what you're saying, and I know you've spread that message. The way I kind of share that same thing is, there's a lot of people that do what you do, no matter what industry you're in. If you're a business coach, there's a lot of business coaches. The only thing that really makes you unique is you. So how do you let you come out? And part of that is certainly your story. The other part is what you believe, and the other part of that is what you care about. And when you put all those things together, it really can make for a powerful transformation when your heart's in the right place. So I don't want to get all woo-woo on you, though.
So it was the three: what you believe. Sorry, your story, what you believe, and what you care about. I'm interested. Is this like a process that you have that you go through with your clients?
I just made that up. No, I mean, I have worked with you, Luke, on my model, which is a little bit different than that.
Yeah.
But it is a tool that I use. It's not necessarily a process, but it's just kind of a diagram that I would put down, a Venn diagram with the circles that interact. And when you find that sweet spot, it really is powerful.
Yeah.
And when I am, I don't know if you know this about me, but I love martial arts. I have a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have a brown belt, almost a black belt in Muay Thai. Do you know what those are?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So I believe if you're going to fight, you have to use everything you have available to you. You don't, fight with one leg. You don't fight with one arm. You use everything. And when you're trying to get your business off the ground, it's very similar to a fight. You're trying to get heard. You're trying to be valued. You're trying to connect with the right people. And when you do that, you want to use everything available to you. So if you leave your story behind, someone's going to wonder what it is and who you really are. But when you share it, and I've actually had people share this with me, because it is a little bit hard to share. But they will say it brings me closer to you, makes me understand you better, and I'm more apt to work with you because I know this than if I thought everything in your life was just perfect.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned there three, so heard, valued, and connected, and especially coming back to this, when you're starting your business, those are the three things that you're really trying to struggle to put into the marketplace. One of the things about leveraging your story, and you kind of just mentioned it there, you kind of attract people that are that resonate with your story. Do you find that your clients, that's the reason, one of the reasons why you attract them is because they resonate with who you are and what you've been through and that type of thing?
I think absolutely. I mean, I don't hide behind these things. I don't try to not tell them, so I'm pretty open. And I use it when I go on stage because I think it really connects to the audience more. But I do believe that people will come to me. I mean, how many coaches do you know? And I know there are people out there, but have run a non-coaching business that made $1 million. A lot of them come from the corporate world, and so that's a different kind of mindset too. And then you try to give small businesses or entrepreneurs coaching. It's completely different. Not to say it can't be done, but it's hard to resonate with that story. So I do share my story about taking my business from 0 to 5 million in sales, going through everything I had to do to build my team, and then go back and do a pivot. We don't want to forget those pivots when they're necessary, and then really figure out why you're here and executing on that plan.
Yeah. What I love about your story is because that's what you do essentially now. You help leaders in the trenches. So that's how you leverage your story. One of my mentors goes on about, when you have your story, you really need to look at what makes you alluring. That sense of allure. What is what about your story attracts people to you? So, for example, for me, I guess it's my age, because I'm quite young, and that I travel a lot. I'm traveling around the world running my coaching business. My question to you is, Gene, what do you believe is your allure?
I think it's experience, and the fact that a lot of people are looking for that bigger success, not just getting by. And I've had that. And so they go, oh, he's been there before, and he's building it up again, which is, I'm still in the trenches right now, Luke. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I almost cracked 6 figures last year. This year, I'm going to sell past it. But I'm still in the trenches, figuring out all of these things, getting the traction I want. But I think my allure has to be my experience, that I've done it before. Mm-hmm. I also think it has to do, too, that a lot of people will call themselves coaches, and they don't really understand what coaching is. They kind of think they know, and they'll just go in and tell you how to run your business. And that's part of what I can do, but that's not all I can do. I really get into some of the deeper issues when someone's really resisting a change or a shift. Mm-hmm. There's usually an emotional component to it that needs to be understood before you can move forward. Not just take action just for the sake of taking action. Let's just march on through no matter what it is.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, that's what the show is about: leaders in the trenches. You helping them, and you have your podcast as well that gives specific advice around that. When building out your business, let's talk about a coaching business, because that's primarily the audience that are watching at the moment. When building out a business and working with leaders in the trenches, a coaching business, what are the top 3 challenges you see? You just mentioned one there, but what are the top 3 challenges you see when they're trying to get their business going and out of the trenches, I guess you could say?
So which one did I just mention, so I don't keep...
You mentioned that it was connected to a more of an emotional issue, I believe, like when you first...
Okay. A lot of it goes back to that mindset, and I know you probably agree with that too. If you don't believe you can do something, you won't even look for a way to do it. If some people are deathly afraid of taking the stage and speaking on behalf of their business and connecting with their audience, because for whatever reason they've learned that, they've grown up with it, and that really goes back to mindset. I remember my wife was she's a motivational speaker, and the very first time she's taking the stage, she's like deathly afraid. And I've just been going through coaching training, and I was like, hey, can I have this conversation with you? You're laughing. You can't coach your wife, by the way.
Yeah, I know. That's not a good... No.
Let me repeat that. You cannot coach your wife.
I don't have a wife, and I know that's not a good idea.
Yeah. Don't coach your girlfriends.
Yeah. No.
So I had this conversation with her, and she can probably hear me now. I remember I said, what are you scared of? And she thought about it, and she's like, she ended up getting to this point where she said, she speaks to teenagers, and she goes, I guess I'm scared of what they'll think about me. And so I asked why. And I asked why a couple of times to get to a deeper level, and then she finally fired up, and she said, you know what? I don't give a what they think about me.
You can say
I'm keeping
that
it clean. I'm keeping it clean. But she goes, I don't care. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah, I don't care. And she went from being kind of a mess. I think it's okay if I say that. She was all red, blotchy, and things like that. And she was all fired up and said, you know what? I'm just gonna give it to them. I don't care what they think about me. And she was able to move through that fear, because it all went back to the mindset, where she was in her head and that fear. So I would say that's definitely one of the biggest. There's a lot of people that think they can be all things to all people.
Oh, that's...
And, that really gets me, because if you don't know who you serve, you can't really serve them. I don't care how good you are, because you're just trying to be all over the place. You're just, I'll take whoever. it's the akin of a doctor going, I can help you no matter who you are and what you have coming in.
Yeah.
You're like, my ankle hurts, or my heart hurts. I mean, think about it. We all want specialists.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone's heard that the heart surgeon thing. If you go into a doctor and he says you've got something with your heart, he refers you to the heart surgeon, right?
Yeah.
If you've got to have, if your child goes in, you go to the pediatric heart surgeon. So we all want specialists in our life, but yet when you run your own business, you have a different view. You're like, well, I'm so good, I'm talented. You heard that one? I'm so talented, I can help all of these people.
Well, I am talented.
And look, that's the reason you focus on coaches, because you understand that. It's very clear. When someone says, I need a coach for coaches, you can, your message will resonate with them. Whereas when you go out and you try to talk to someone who's starting up a software company, it won't resonate as well. Would it be helpful? Could you help them? Absolutely. But really a really big problem.
Mm-hmm.
The third one, because you said 3, I'll think about this. I think it goes back to, I'm going to say presence. Being truly present or focused on where you are, who you're talking to, and what you're doing. So if it's in communications, actually looking at people, not looking at the phone. When you're working, when you sit down to work, actually work. Don't just sit there and kind of get pulled into your email or pulled into Facebook or social media, whatever it may be. Actually get it done and implement with quickness and speed. It doesn't have to be perfect. Notice I didn't say perfect. Mm-hmm. It's just you get it done, and then you move on to the next thing. So those 3 things together would be, if you nail those, you've got a really good shot at being really successful.
So it was mindset, and then it was not trying to be all things to everyone, and the last one was focus and presence.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to touch on explore that second one, because not trying to be all things to everyone. The reason why I want to touch on this is because it is really, really prevalent in the coaching industry. I was just reading a discussion on LinkedIn, and a lady was asking, how many niches should I have? Like, that was the question.
As many as you can hold, yes. Right?
Like, how about you just choose one and specialize in that first before you, and then there's other people saying, just go with your heart and stuff like that. But when you, as you just said, when you're trying to speak to everyone, you're literally speaking to no one. You're not resonating with anyone. It's like trying to, your marketing copy and the way that you write or the way that you speak is going to be so general that no one's going to resonate with you, right? So
absolutely. I mean, we're all being told content marketing, right? Mm. Whether it be email, whether it be blogging, whether it be video, whether it be live events like this, whether it be podcast, create content. And so much content is being created every day that if it is black or white, you have a chance to either get the right audience and turn away the others, which is great. Mm-hmm. But if it's gray, which most everything's kind of right in the middle, it just gets unheard. So, I think I kind of mentioned this, we all want to be heard, appreciated, and valued. Mm-hmm. And when you are absolutely working with the people that are right for your business, when you're clear about who you serve, you have a much better chance to craft one piece of marketing message that will get their attention. But if you try to serve everyone with that subject line, you get no one.
Yep. If you're watching this show right now and you're trying to serve everyone, I just wanted to listen to Jean's comments just then. Really, really important. Why, Jean? Why wouldn't you want to, define who your ideal client is? So that way, it actually makes, trying to serve everyone actually makes it harder for you if you define specifically who you want to serve. And then I think you mentioned the word I want to pick out there is turn away, which the way that I describe it to my clients is disqualify. So you really want to disqualify those not ideal for you, and that puts you in the power position. You're not qualifying yourselves to them. You disqualify those not ideal, and it keeps you in the power position. That's just a little trick there. But it just makes it easier for you to get really specific, and that way you know where they are, right, and where to target your marketing.
Yeah, you're a student of marketing like me, Luke, and connecting with people, and we're told we have to disqualify.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's will make that offer stronger. So if you take that and you believe that, then you should use it in all parts of your business. Like when you're sitting down with someone to talk about who you will take on as a client, are you really interviewing them or are they interviewing you?
Yep.
Because that dynamic is really important. I believe as a coach, you're interviewing them.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where you can put in filter questions or statements that you can just say, you know what, I work with people that really believe in investing themselves, take quick actions, make strong commitments, and really do what they say they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's you, great, come join me, because we're gonna get going, we're gonna move fast. But if you're like kind of on the fence, you're better off just staying there, because I need to work with people that are ready to move.
Yeah, you mentioned. I think when you go into the like your initial consult with that mindset, coming back to what you said about how important mindset is, number one, it changes your mindset when you go into it thinking, okay, I'm interviewing them, like I'm trying to find all the reasons, and your podcast said this this past week or yesterday, I believe it was. You want to find all the reasons why they're not a good fit for you, because in the end, if you're only taking their money because you might be desperate for the money, and they're a type of person that doesn't take action on your advice or your coaching, that is actually going to look bad for you and your results.
Yeah.
So that's why
it's going to waste your time too, right?
Yep. So you're going to get a client that doesn't value what you have to offer, and you're not going to get the results that you want, and ultimately it just makes you and your business look bad.
I want to add to this because you mentioned Leaders in the Trenches as my podcast, and you can go check that out. And I'm not trying to pimp it out there, because if you're on the fence of whether this is right for you, I've probably got a dozen interviews on there that would speak right to your heart about why you should be thinking about doing this. And that's the reason I put this together, because I saw such a prevalent problem across many businesses, and I was very targeted to not make this just about coaching, or make this just about web designers, or just about virtual assistants. It's about that stage in their business where it's hard to get through, and one of those critical elements is knowing who you serve. And so I interviewed, I think 19 of the 23 interviews so far have been all about the mindset of the niche, why that's important, and people had to walk me through why they had to give up that old thinking to find out who they serve. The episode coming out tomorrow is a 7-figure business loving who you serve.
It might sound like we actually worked all of this into the conversation a little bit. Actually, that's perfect for what we're talking about, right?
Well, it is, and you saw the interview yesterday, or heard it through Larry Winget.
Yes.
And Larry Winget's a very established speaker, very polarizing. He's an incredible brand. Some people disagree with him, and parts of what he says I disagree with, but I had him on the show because he is a personality, and he has such a strong message about some of these things, and it's the kick in the pants. I had both sides on Twitter kind of saying, you know what, he pissed me off, and other people was like, I loved it. This should be required for everyone. But he really talks about commitment. He talks about hard work and excellence and all these things. The one that we were joking with, the subject line was like, "This will piss you off."
Yeah.
He has this belief on passion that it doesn't have a role in business. And we've all been told otherwise, but he's taken that stance on the other side of it, which is a very big kind of thing. If you're trying to be just like everyone else,
you
don't get heard. But when you take a stance on the other side of a controversial issue, you may only get a small segment of the market, but those people will be fans of yours. But if you try to play both sides, Luke, does that work?
Yeah, no, you're caught in the sea of sameness, as they say. So, you know the funny thing is, Gene, we are talking about Larry on this show. So when you stand up for what you believe in, and are very black and white, you might polarize people. but you get noticed. And especially coming back to leaders in the trenches, that's what you want to do in the marketplace. You want to stand up for what you believe in and who you work for. Because I think we spoke about this yesterday, which is as I was typing to you on Facebook. People are afraid that if they tell people what they're really thinking, then they won't be loved. And what I think people have these opinions that Larry has, but they're too afraid to communicate those opinions for fear of not being loved and trying to be loved by everyone, especially for coaches. I know with life coaches especially, they love to help everyone. When there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're trying to grow a business, that's really not a great way to go about growing your business.
I just came back from a conference in Vegas, and it was a very masterful coach, and she was on the stage, and she took a very strong stance to this. She goes, you know what? I'm not here to be liked. I've got family and friends that like me and love me. When I'm working with my clients, I don't need to be liked. I need to be respected, but I don't need to be liked. And I think there's a distinction between, do you need to have your clients like you, or do you need to care about your clients? I really care about my clients, and that's one of the things that probably makes me different. I really do care about their success. I care about what they're doing. But if you're trying to just be liked, it's, especially as a coach, it doesn't create the relationship that allows you to really transform that person. Whereas when you're respected by them, it's a new kind of relationship. Have you seen that for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I noticed that with my own business coaches and my mentors that I study under, there is that. I resonate with those mentors that are similar to me, right? And it's like, you're saying with your clients that are below you, they resonate with your story. So I find that I connect with mentors that do care for their clients. However, I also connect with those mentors that there's that level of respect. It's kind of like trying to think what an example of that is. Like you're a teacher. If you ever remember back to a teacher that you really resonated with in primary school or elementary, I think you guys call it, and high school, there was that level of respect that you had for each other because they treated you as an adult, right? And there's that mutual respect. But you knew that they weren't there to be your best friend, if that makes sense.
I totally agree, and I can think of pictures, or picture in my mind some of those relationships I had growing up, and totally agree with you. There were teachers that were more like buddies. I didn't learn as much from them, and it was fun, but the ones that I respected the most, the ones that I came in class on time and I paid attention and I did the homework, I learned so much. So think about that as a coach that's pulling yourself out of the trenches.
And that doesn't mean that they don't care for you. I mean, caring for you,
yeah.
And you know how your parents kind of, we did it because we love you, and they they cut you off from your friend, or that saying, they did it because you love you, right? And in the end, you can see when you grow up, they actually were doing it for my own benefit. It's like that. So they still care for you, and they still respect you, and you respect them. It doesn't mean that you don't have to care for your clients, but as you just mentioned, for the leaders in the trenches, you need to maintain that level of respect for your clients because you have a duty to your clients to get them results.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Coming back to, so when you target your target market of leaders in the trenches, is there a specific problem, like if we can work through a couple of the specific general common problems that they come to you with? And,
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I came down this path, I guess it started back in about December. I took a pivot for my business. I believe in niching. I was working with digital agencies, and a part of my business still stays focused on that. It's a successful part of my business, but I have a passion for people that are in their business. Again, Larry Winget would want to smack me around when I say passion. He says it has no place in business. Anyone who runs their business with passion
I didn't.
is
It's an
broke.
uncontrollable emotion.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. You did listen, Luke. Luke,
I did.
I'm touched.
Of course I listen.
But the thing that really gets us in our businesses is those times when it's really hard. And I've been there. My wife has been there, and it's really you want to be heard. It's that know, like, and trust, right? You've got to do all those things before people will get you, but the attention thing is really hard. And so there's a lot of businesses that are in the trenches. They feel alone, and I wanted to create something for them. Now, I've gone back and forth, and I'm still trying to narrow this down.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that coaching is for anyone who wants it, but it's not for everyone. And there are people out there that, even though they make six figures, they don't want the help. They don't think they need it. And there are people out there that are making, $40,000 that will lean into it and go, you know what, I really need this. Mm-hmm. And those are the ones that get the most out of it. So I don't really try to convince someone about coaching, but typically the people who are coming to me are already making six figures, and they're trying to figure out how to make double that or triple that. But the problems that they have, we've kind of talked about them today, is mindset issues, being all things to all people, and truly being present as a leader, not just barking orders. So those are kind of the three things that I work with my clients on. The first two being the biggest, the mindset and how to find their real audience.
As an expert, Gene, coming back to the mindset, I mean, you and I know that that's a huge part of it for me as well, and getting people to take action on your advice and your coaching. What are the problems that being, because mindset for them, I don't know if you can correct me on this, I don't know if they would think that it was their mindset that would be the issue, right? What are the problems that they think they have when they're in the trenches, as opposed to what you know that they have? Because you're the expert.
They need a new plan, right? They need a new strategy. They need to do something new.
Yes.
They come to us and they got to learn something else. I'm making the call on the last few interviews I've done, and this is probably about the third or fourth time I've said this. Everybody's telling people like you and me that are creating, coaching businesses and info marketers, create products, create videos, create content, create things that people can learn from. Well, that mindset stuff rarely ever shifts by learning more. It usually it paralyzes you more.
Yep.
And it keeps you from making the real transformations which are necessary, which is what's going on inside you. And so when I'm working with my clients, whether it be one-on-one or groups or live events, I am literally peering into where they are, asking questions and letting them decide for themselves. And as an example, I'll give you, a client the other day didn't take the actions. And I said, why didn't you? He goes, well, I really like for things to be perfect before I do that. Now you can see it, right, Luke? Because you probably heard that before.
I love it. Yeah, I was speaking to a client just yesterday about this, so that's why I keep going.
So I said, this is a group experience, right? It's on a webinar. And I said, can I take a moment to just ask you a few questions about that? And I said, this is a real coaching moment. Can you get real about it? And he goes, yeah. I said, where else does it show up? And there's probably a lot of coaches watching this. There's like, well, there's so many other questions you could do. But I just asked him, and it really took him back. He's like, well, I start a lot of projects and I don't finish. So, oh. And I said, well, I know what you do for a living. How does that play out in the work you do for your clients? And he's like, well, I do that work because I have to. I get paid for. But what I'm talking about is my own work, my own marketing, my own sales strategies, and all those things. And I said, so you start them and you don't finish. And I said, let me ask you a question. If you got 99% there, but you weren't ready to release it yet, you would just walk away? And he goes, yep.
Wow.
And the rest of the story was, it was all about mindset, about what he believed he needed to do, because he represented such excellence in his work. And I'm like, you could be excellent at 90%.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'll notice that the top guys in that become successful, it's about imperfect action. Like, it's not about having everything perfect. Whether they say sloppy success is better than no success, right? And I just mentioned that I was the same especially when I first started building my business. I thought I had to have everything perfect. My DISC profile, I don't know if you've ever heard of a DISC profile, it's like a personality type profile, is perfectionist type profile. And actually in the start of building a business, I was all about consuming content and having your programs ready to go before you've even proven the concept that anybody wants them. And that's what I don't know if you feel the same, but I know.
I'm going to guess you wasted a lot of time and money.
Yeah, and exactly right. And you get stuck in this. It's all around mindset, right? Because it's that fear that what you're putting out into the marketplace is not going to be perfect, or people aren't going to love you. And
I'll give you an example. I was at this. Sorry, I just cut you off.
That's right. That's all right.
I was at this conference, and this coach was talking to a bunch of coaches, so I just thought it'd be good for this audience. And she's on stage, and she's like, when you get together a new package for your coaching, it takes about an hour. And people around me were like, how can you do it in an hour?
Yep.
And I was looking to them, I was like, what do you think she's talking about? And they're like, we're just having like a little chat inside this big conference. There's 800 people there. And she comes back, and someone asks a question at the mic. It's like, well, how can you do that in an hour? And she goes, well, really it only takes like 12 minutes. But I just thought I'd say an hour. Because all she's doing is, bullet pointing out what's in this package. What are the benefits of it,
Yep.
And what are I going to value it? What's the investment? I almost said cost, but we're not supposed to.
Yeah, that's not allowed to say that. No discounts and no costs, right?
I believe in no discounts too, Luke.
Yeah, no discounts. So, you call it a scholarship price.
Well, what I do is and maybe you can correct me on this. Mm-hmm. Instead of doing a discount, I do more of an offer, more value.
Yes,
like, hey, if you sign up for this package, if you sign up by Friday, you actually get a half VIP day with me, where I spend 3 hours, really kicking this off with force and just getting going strong.
You know what I love about that approach? Sorry to cut you off. Is that especially for coaches starting off, instead of discounting your price, just instead add value. If you move forward today, as you just said, I'll give you that bonus half-day session. So it builds urgency, so they'll move forward and more likely to.
And it's what they need, right? You're giving them more of a chance to be successful.
Yeah, exactly.
And they want more intimate time with you. So if you've got a group program, you could go, all right, so here's the group program, but if you make the decision today, we're going to get on a call next week, and we're going to go through an hour of your business and set that strategy so that the group really works with you.
Sorry, keep going.
I love that. So I haven't tried the scholarship thing. It just hasn't felt comfortable. I know that language around it, mm-hmm. but I like to just give extras.
What I love about giving extras as well, you mentioned halfway through the show about building know, like, and trust. It really, when you're adding value that your clients, especially when they're not expecting value, like you're doing a couple of extra sessions for them, it really builds that know, like, and trust. And that's what it's all about in this market, right? Building out those relationships, because they pay themselves back tenfold.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it goes back to results, right? Mm-hmm. I don't care what business you're in, what you're doing for a living, what results did you get? If you clean buildings, are they clean? Mm-hmm. Are they to the point where the clients go, you know what? I've never had anyone clean the floors like this before. Awesome. Mm-hmm. They're not going to get rid of you.
Exactly the same. And as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a business owner, you are paid for results, and that's the bottom line. Like someone who works in a 9 to 5. I'm just trying to say this because I've been in that situation. I've done a 9 to 5. You can almost get paid for showing up in a lot of jobs. I'm not saying that's all of them, but some of them. But as an entrepreneur and a business owner, for the people watching, bottom line, you are paid for results. And that's where your focus should be for your clients.
I was totally in sync there. And I think it's our responsibility as coaches mm-hmm. to work with the clients to document what the results have been. Because when you do that, and you're getting paid for this, it's inside your sessions. Hey, let's take a look at your books. What did you do the year before? And I've had clients come back and say, oh, well, my sales were at 174,000. Okay, great. What are they now? Well, this past year, because of our coaching, 258,000. Awesome. What's that percentage? Right? Mm-hmm. That's the growth rate. That's
Yeah.
and then you figure out, how much did you invest in coaching with me? Oh, it was $5,000, and you got a return of nearly 75,000. That's a pretty good ROI.
Yep, that's true. So that's the next program is going to be like, that's good because you show price juxtaposition, right? And you can justify, well, my next program, it'll be adding more value, but it'll be 20,000, for example.
Absolutely. It helps you because it gives you the confidence in what you're doing and the value you're creating. We're not just, as coaches, we're not just having good conversations. We're not just going to sit down with you and just chat through this thing. We want to know what results you're getting. We want to work with people that want to get results. And, some of those things are not measurable. I get it. I totally get it. But the things that are measurable, we should really lean into, because when you do that, the testimonials that you'll get back that you can put on your websites that you can share with clients are very much more specific, and specific is terrific. I know that rhymes, but it really is important. I didn't just make that one up. I use that one quite a bit.
Okay. Gene, this is a question that I ask of all the entrepreneurs coming on the show. As we go to wrap up here, and then I'll give you a chance to let people know about how they can get in contact with you. But what do you believe is your secret to success?
As a coach, I really believe it's caring. I think this is my purpose. I don't think, I actually know. This is why I'm here. I have a very faith-based part of me that really understands that before in that other business, I just made a lot of money. And I made money doing, some weird things and some very traditional things, and a lot of people wouldn't understand it, but I knew how to see the cycles. I knew how to make money, but I wasn't fulfilled. And so when I'm working with my clients now, I know that I'm living out exactly what I'm supposed to be doing here, and I'm working with them to help them transition their business to that next level. So if they're at 100,000, get to 200,000. Yeah. It takes new strategies to do that, but it also takes new mindsets. And can you do it alone? Absolutely. You can, but it might take a little bit longer or a lot longer. Your risk is going to be higher.
My coach is here, Gene. That's going to take a lot longer. It's going to take
I mean, I'm being soft about that, but if you don't get, it's a very small investment to work with someone that helps you see what you can't see. So coaches get it. That's a good thing about you, Luke. I mean, your audience really gets it. My audience is a little bit harder, and I've actually chosen an audience that I know it's going to be a little bit harder to reach, but it's really opening up new opportunities before me, new stages that I can take, new networks I'm getting in that I've never gotten into before. So I really think that the secret in my sauce is just really caring and really being present during those coaching conversations. And I know everyone does it, but could you do it 5% more? Could you be there just 5% more? And I really striving all the time to be a better coach, not just a better marketer.
That's I know how you feel about living and living in your purpose, your life's purpose. It feels coming back to that word passion, which Larry, it just the energy. It's so much easier, right? I've been in a job before, and you have too, where it's a lot harder when you're not working in an area that you're not that's not fulfilling for you, and that's not doesn't bring that passion through. So I'm right there with you in relation to working your life's purpose. It's just so much fun, hey.
Not everybody finds it, but usually the people that are in the trenches know they don't want to go back to get a job, and so they're trying to figure out a way to make it. Coaches, if you've been called into being a coach and it's inside of you, you don't want to go back to doing whatever you were doing because you've already probably got a taste of this. So that the trick is just to figure out how you can really get the connections that you need with people, because if I don't know any coaches that didn't start out marketing and really position themselves. I mean, take one of the grand masters. I think you're a big fan of Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
I just interviewed someone on my show, DC Cordova. It came out on Monday. She was one of Tony's trainers back in the day. I mean, this was the 80s, I think, 70s or 80s. But She was Robert Kiyosaki's partner, but Tony Robbins hit the radio stations hard with his NLP stuff and was breaking fears immediately with people when they came to his little workshops at the local airport Marriott. You know that story, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, that's where he started. I mean,
I do know he started small. Yeah, I do know that with his small seminars. Yep.
Yeah, he did started small with it, and his niche was NLP. It was all around breaking fears and doing it through his NLP kind of mastery, and he got training from all these people to learn how to do these things, and that's where he started traveling around, putting himself out there, and making those transformations quickly with people.
Gene, I wanted to, can you, before we wrap up, can you let people know a little bit about how they can get in touch with you if they're going through, if they're coaches or leaders or consultants or trainers, they're in the trenches and they want to power through that hard start of their business. How can they get in contact with you?
I'd love you to sign up on my list, but I probably haven't done enough to position that. So I would say ask me a question on Twitter. Go to @GeneHammett, GeneHammett. And if you're really just going to sit on the fences, you can go to Leaders in the Trenches. You can listen into something. You can put it on your smartphone. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, but leadersinthetrenches.com. We interview other leaders. I call it Conversations with Leaders for Leaders. And we're really just working with people who pull themselves out of the trenches and sharing those stories with you. And some of them, most of them are very mindset related. So that's the best way to get in touch with me.
And I can also vouch for your show, Gene, and to the people watching that Leaders in the Trenches podcast. It is a really great show. So if you're in that situation and you need that advice from, because you interview some really great entrepreneurs that have also been through that. So it's a great show for some great advice, especially to help around that mindset, which we've come back to time and time again in this show. Gene, I just wanted to really thank you for coming on the show and giving up an hour of your time on the Elite Entrepreneur Show. It was a real pleasure to interview you. This has been a really great interview, so thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, Luke. I was really excited about it. I do a few of these interviews every week, and I'm glad I got a chance to connect with you and your audience.
Thanks, man. I appreciate your time, and I'll speak to you in the green room in just a second.
All right.
Still, for you still watching the show, I would like to thank you for tuning in again this week on the Elite Entrepreneur Show. Now, to give up an hour of your time, I'm hugely grateful for you doing that, and that's why I tried to provide you with as much value, and so do the entrepreneurs coming on this show, trying to provide as much value to build out your business, your lifestyle coaching business, and that's what it's all about on the Elite Entrepreneur Show, changing lives, living anywhere, and becoming the new rich. We go live at the same time each and every week, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. British Summertime, or 12 p.m. Pacific Time. I'm a bit all over the place, but just remember 3 p.m. Eastern Time at the same time. And if you'd like to follow me on Instagram, it's @LukeCharlton, and you can see what I'm doing during the week. So thanks again for tuning in this week on the Entrepreneur Show. I will see you next week. Cheers.